Hi guys, welcome back to Lewis on Film. I'm Lewis, and today we are going to look at a film which has just been released on Amazon Prime, starring Rosamund Pike, and it's called I Care a Lot. The story here opens with a bit of narration from Rosamund Pike's character, Marla Grayson, her name is, and she basically says this country was built on America, that is. America was built on the American dream and the idea that you can be anything you want to be, but you've got to put the work in. And you can't be the lamb. If you're going to get eaten up, it's not going to help you. You need to be a lioness. You need to go out. You need to literally go for the jugular and get what you want. And that's basically what the film is about. But thematically, that's what the film's about. The story is that Marla, Rosamund Pike, she sort of has begun this kind of legal criminal empire. It's legal in terms of the law is on her side, but it's wrong in the fact that it's morally wrong. And what it is she has a sort of chain of doctors, if you like, doctors and the guy who, sort of the manager of a care home, and she becomes the ward of elderly people who can't look after themselves, and she distances the family from them if they've got any family, and she basically takes over their control of their life. She controls their finances, their house, and other things, and she sells them off, claiming for it to be so I can get paid, which is true. Yeah, this is my time. My goal here is to make sure this person gets the right treatment, and that costs money. So I sell off the things to pay for them. And but what she actually does is just put them in a home and reaps the benefit for herself. And she's got, like I say, she's got this sort of network of people who work for her who are fully aware that what they're doing is morally wrong, but they reap the benefits of it. And that's the outline of the story. But this one old lady, sweet old lady, is her latest ward, and she knows people who can give Marla a bad time for what she's done. And Peter Dinklage turns up, and he plays an absolutely brilliant character. Chris Messina is also absolutely brilliant, and he plays her lawyer who tries to get her released from the care home once Marla's put her in, and it all goes. Everything gets spun on its head. That's the story, and it sounds more complicated than it is, possibly from my fault there, but yeah, that's the story. So the best thing about this is 100% is Rosamund Pike. She's just been nominated for a Golden Globe for this performance, and you can see why. She's relishing the opportunity to be in this lead role. Now she's slowly sort of become the lead actress. More recently, obviously she was the Gone Girl, albeit secondary maybe to Ben Affleck's character, but she was the best thing about that film. In exactly the same way, she's probably the best thing about this, and she is loving it. She's having a great time playing this role, and you can tell. And she's got no problem whatsoever by carrying the entire film on her shoulders because it's such a strong performance. And yeah, the film is heightened and works because of her and because of her full immersion in into this character. Like I say, Peter Dinklage turns up in it, and he's kind of the mirror opposite to her in a way. The very kind of soft-spoken, methodical thinker that he has to be, whereas she is very fierce but also very, very quick. She can think her way out of things very quickly, which is commendable to her. She's backed up by Fran, who's her lover, they're a lesbian partnership, and played by Eliza Gonzalez, who was in Baby Driver, and so she's a big part of it. But she backs her up with the sort of getting all the information together and seeing through the finer details. But Rosamund Pike's the mastermind of it all. And of course, Diane Wiest is the old lady who's causing her all of the problems, and has put her in the home, and she's trying to sort of get out. Basically the performances are all fantastic. They're easily the strongest thing about the film. But it can't go without a mention that the writer and director is Jay Blakeson, I believe his name is, and I've not seen any of his films before that I know of, but I'm going to now that I've seen this, because he's clearly got a talent for it. He's still a fairly fresh filmmaker, still got a lot to learn, a long career ahead of him, but this film is such a good concept, and he knows it's a good concept, and he just has fun with it, even if at times you kind of have to hold your breath and go, hang on. The fact that the characters believe it sort of makes it work for him, more so than he's actually able to himself as a storyteller, filmmaker, whatever you want to say. So the bad. Now, there isn't a lot, I think. Now, other people will probably disagree with me here. I don't think there's much bad here, but it's always a risk when you have a lead character, the character who is your central focus. It's always a risk when they are so unlikable and that you just hate what they're doing because it's so wrong, that you follow them in that regard. It's always a risk. It's always something that you need to really take care of, to make sure that they're watchable. Now, because it's Rosamund Pike and because she's brilliant, the film doesn't really have that issue. But she is horrible. She is deviously nasty throughout the entire thing, and you don't want her to get away with it. But I think probably around the halfway mark, there's a certain conversation that she has with Diane Wiest's character, and you kind of can't help but admire her for her just sheer, well, A, for her balls, if you like, and B just for her complete commitment to what she's doing, and you can't help but commend it to an extent. Like she doesn't ever back down, and that's kind of the likable thing about her, the only likable thing about her, really. But she embraces that. Now, like I said, you could argue for and against that is a good or a bad thing. I think it's a bad thing when you have a character who is so hard to like, but they take it in their stride and make it work. Now, as I've said, it's early on, there's things that Jay Blakeson writes and tries to tell in this story that just don't. You kind of have to hold your breath at. You just kind of take it with a pinch of salt and say, okay, fair enough. Let's assume that could happen. But you know, if it didn't happen, you wouldn't have a film. And yeah, it's just very strange to see it happen in a certain way, and it's like, well, hang on, really? How could it? How? and yeah, that's the downside of it. The fact that you have to kind of bite your tongue and say and not question it. but they have such fun with it. They just find a way to make it snappy and dry and weird, and put these people in a situation that just shouldn't exist, but they make it exist in a world that you want to see what the outcome is. And yeah, if you can do that in a film, you've gone pretty far, I'd say. So overall, I want to say that the reason the film works as well as it does is because of the cast, and because prominently Rosamund Pike, and how much she believes it and how much she makes the audience believe it, and that is to be commended for how good her performance is. Blakeson, he relies heavily on the concept and the fact that he hopes that you have enough fun to overlook the flaws, and prominently, I think he does. I think he succeeds. But the reason he succeeds is because the cast are enjoying it so much, which is fine. Like I say, the concept is great. This kind of criminal franchise, which a sort of legal criminal franchise that's going on, with questionable motives, is it's a good concept. It's very Coen Brothers to an extent, and that kind of sums up the ending. You know the comeuppance. You're hoping that the comeuppance will come to this horrible, nasty character. You hope it'll come eventually, but it doesn't come in the way that you want it to come. I was kind of more expecting Diane Wiest to have more of an involvement than she actually does in the end, which is kind of annoying. But anyway, I don't want to spoil that. But visually, the film's very interesting. It's filled by the end. It's filled with this kind of mix match of sort of bold yellows, reds, purples, blues, greens, and the colour of it. You know that it's gonna add to the visceralness of it, and sure enough, it does. But there's a great underlying thing about this that just makes you love it more than you think you should, as well. Because I have seen that some people have given it bad reviews, and they're welcome to. But I think the film is meant to be more for entertainment and for fun than it is for anything else. And arguably that is actually a bit of a criticism, because there is a genuine kind of concern here that under the surface that the state taking over control of the elderly who can't look after themselves. You could argue that there's a real debate there to be had, and a real conversation to be had, and the film kind of ignores that. It doesn't have that conversation. It looks at the nastiness more than it does the genuine care that should be gone into it. But that's a sort of talk for maybe historians on another day. Yeah, so Rosamund Pike, absolutely brilliant. Peter Dinklage was one of the finest gangster performances. I'm going to say no more. One of the finest gangster performances that we've seen in a long time. And I really liked I Care a Lot. I really did. I could watch it again. I'd probably pay more attention if I was to watch it again to the first half than the second half. I think the second half is kind of where the string comes untethered a bit, and sort of loose ends start to pop up. But it is a fun film. It is a very fun film, and I'm very interested to know what you all think. So, like I say, I'd love to know what you all thought of that. If when you do see this, I'm I'm genuinely really interested to know. So please do let me know what you thought of this one. As always, please subscribe. Any films that you think I should give a watch, please do let me know. Lots more coming up in the coming weeks too. So in the coming weeks, we're going to talk to somebody about the Batman films. We are going to discuss some of the sort of my favourite directors. I'm going to rank some favourite films, and there's lots more films coming out as well, which I'm looking forward to. So, like I say, this isn't a short-term thing. I'm looking to do this in the long term. So please do subscribe and stay in touch. So the Golden Globes were announced last week as well. Controversial, some of the stuff, I know, but I'm not a Golden Globes expert by any means, or even a follower generally of the Golden Globes, but I am a massive buff of the Oscars. And I know a lot about the Oscars, and that's coming up in April, so I'll be doing an in-depth look at the Oscars this year. So yeah, if that interests you, please do subscribe, and I'll see you soon.